Robbie K back again with a second movie review for the night because I caught a double. Didn't get to put the written one out on this yet, but try to take care of that tomorrow afternoon. But welcome to the video review of Mission Impossible 6, or Mission Impossible Fallout. Now, if you've been a fan of the series, you can pretty much guess that this is going to be another action thriller starring the legendary Tom Cruise himself. So, the new trilogy has really kind of breathed life back into a series that was on its last leg. And with it has brought a new engaging storyline that's actually had some continuity to it. So bravo to them for managing to kind of string lace it. Now, with all the trailers that you've seen, you know that this movie was looking highly action-packed, but you never know with trailers because there's still lots of surprises, especially in a movie where we have about 30 minutes of a 2.5-hour film. If you're Reddit reviewers and you like to follow them, or you're looking for kind of just along the lines super plot dynamics, then of course you can already know that you've seen probably a good centerpiece of the story. And what you can't see is most likely going to be predictable, as my friend Mary, shout out to her for seeing this with me tonight. Most likely you're going to think that the movie could be potentially too cheesy because of the predictable nature of it. But, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because it's time for another Robbie's movie reviews. And we're going to start with Stage 1. But first, we got to give you what the trailer promises. In a world filled with spies and the fact that Tom Cruise seems to be getting anonymity and essentially being allowed to save the world multiple times with little punishment as on the sideline, you've got one heck of another fallout, no pun intended, coming with, again, another looming terrorist division. Ghosts from his past start to resurface as a potential new global disaster strikes, where an unknown enemy seeks to, of course, use some type of device to rule the world, or at least remold it. Now it's up to Ethan Hunt and his team and to hopefully bring justice while also trying to face some of the horrors of their past. It's Mission Impossible Fallout, and Stage 1 review coming at you. A Stage 1 summary is essentially this. The movie is definitely following the same kind of formula, but it gets props because the continuity continues to continue to string along Ethan's quest for trying to protect the world on new avenues. It's an action-packed fun adventure where there's seldom a boring scene, and it won't take long before you jump into kind of the next exciting rush of choreographed scenes and sequences. Throw in a pretty multi-layered plot where you're trying to figure out where the next, double cross is coming in, because these movies are very famous for that. And in your hopes, you're going to find a very suspenseful thriller to pave the way. Of course, it's very formulaic and predictable, but with it, if you're just looking for that popcorn-munching action kind of spy thriller flick, it's going to give you what you want, primarily in regards to helping expand upon the characters a little more and potentially give you those chills and thrills that you might be looking into seeing come with this latest one, especially at some of the scenes that are there to try to tease you into what's coming next. Outside of that, it is definitely a theater-worthy one because of its special effects and sound quality. And of the two coming out this weekend is my pick for your movie to go watch, assuming you haven't already checked it out. Overall, though, Mission Impossible Fallout is definitely worthy of its kind of title sequence. I don't think Mary quite enjoyed it as much as I did, but it is just exactly what it is, and for those who love those modern USA kind of crime dramas, it's the film for you. So as your Stage 1 review, guys, you feel free to kind of bounce out after that. We're going to Stage 2, the detailed review of Robbie. So, as always, I like to break this into likes and dislikes, and we're going to start with the likes again because it's always good to start on a positive foot. So, in terms of likes, the first thing is, as you heard in the summary, it's continuity that really counts. In the first three, I think there was a little crisscrossing over, but for the most part, they were standalone films with standalone agents. In this case, looks like we're finally starting to string together all the relationships. And ever since number 4, the Ghost Protocol, came out, I've been very impressed with their ability to kind of continue the group together and bring with it some sort of trilogy story that's actually allowing character development. This is another exciting addition into it, and I do appreciate that they're trying to string along and potentially finish up one arc of the story. I can't really say much past that because I don't want to reveal what's coming, but it's at least an attempt to tell a complete story and give Ethan more time to flesh out his character relationships with others. In addition, with the secondary characters played by Ving Rhames and Simon Pegg, you're hoping that there will be more shed along their lines as well, seeing as they've been reintegrated back into the whole story. In regards to it, it's a very fast-paced movie. Woo! Robbie loves fast-paced movies. And even though it is 2.5 hours long, it seldom feels that long. It's exciting because this is my next action scenes are crammed into this. And I can say that they have a decent dynamic. It is definitely one of those movies that has kind of that vicious, very high-intensity component. And again, not saying I'm really revealing anything here because it's all fair game in the trailers, but whether it's high-speed vehicle chases to small firefights to heck even some pretty brutal animalistic punching and fist-fighting scenes, you've got a little bit of something in there for a lot of people. Throwing that fun sound effects and sound score, another and you just get that movie magic that captivates and amplifies and maximizes the big screen use for these action components. In addition, there's some great comedy writing in there. Absolutely love how these guys are able to put comedy in there without forcing it upon me, or at least forcing it to the bare minimum. It doesn't have to be more than a subtle glance from Ving Rhames or a way that somebody pauses before trying to deliver a line. It just captures these characters fantastically well. And I have to say that they actually integrated the team very well. I always get worried when you try to have such a big name be the star, potentially leading to him only doing the heavy lifting, and therefore getting only the major development. And while a dislike that is coming up is more of the other characters fleshing out their own stories, I did like their involvement and integration into the film because it brought that team component, not just a one-man army like we've seen with some of Tom Cruise's other movies. Let me see what else I've got, because I've hit on pretty much most of it. I would say that if I had to bring anything else into the mix, it's the fact that the acting is actually pretty good too. If you're not a Tom Cruise fan, obviously you're going to want to boycott this because he's the star. But if you like him or can at least stand him, then the acting is very well done on all parties accounted for. I can say that there's probably some directional venues that probably needed a little touch and go here and there, but for the most part, it worked for me. And I really, really enjoyed just how they all felt like this kind of high-stakes integration team that were on edge trying to keep up with all the moving pieces. And, the twists are always there. And it keeps you guessing on your toe, keeps your mind engaged. So well done there. Excuse me for the yawn. Now, in regards to dislikes, I gotta agree with Mary. The movie goes down cheesy avenues. And I guess as kind of a combo dislike is the fact that it is predictable as heck. I guess it could be just following the simple formula. I guess it could be across the lines. Something that just needed to try to attempt to flesh out. But Mission Impossible Fallout, just you know what's coming, you can predict what's going to happen, and there are so many obvious foreshadowings that the suspense kind of gets bled away because you can see these predictable components coming from a mile away. Maybe it's because they tried to focus too much on action scenes or whatnot, but they do hit those moments where they disengage from reality a little too bit and go into these kind of very silly, over the top, yeah, because it's Mission Impossible, we have to be grandiose moments. And if you like that, there's nothing wrong with it. For me, it's just a dislike when you kind of overutilize it. I can say that they did do realism for the most part, but man, oh man, La Mancha, there are times where things are dragged out entirely too long. And if you remember kind of off of, what was it, The Dark Knight Rises, you'll laugh because there will be a few moments that are supposedly time balanced, and of course, being a Hollywood movie, we're in really long minute land because you're just going to laugh at the fact that what's supposed to be a 10-minute scene, it actually takes about 25 minutes. So, yeah, I guess that kind of brings into that the editing probably needs to tighten it up. While the movie does move fast, 2.5 hours can be a long time for many people, and there are times where I don't like to sit for 2.5 hours. And I guess doing a double is more my fault. But at the same time, 2.5 hours was a little excessive in this film. Easily, there are a few components that could have either been trimmed and made leaner or just cut altogether. But hey, I'm not the director, and I have to applaud them for maximizing the money spent. In addition, it's one of those that because of the layers upon layers of this movie, it can be a little hard to keep up with who all's working for whom. I strongly suggest that before you go see this, you kind of revisit the Ghost Protocol and Mission Impossible 5, because you may need some refreshers to figure out all the political parties involved, who belongs to whom, and even more so, where each of the alliances lie, because you might need to develop a map to try to keep the pulse on who all is where and how and what their roles are. And I guess that brings me to another dislike is some of the new characters added into here have been done fantastically. Others may have been the ones that could have been cut, despite stunning character design in terms of outfits and makeup, and in terms of a very intriguing nature to it. Some of the new characters were literally just plot devices and plot points to quickly transition between action scenes, which I guess, ironically, I have to say is relying too much on action without a story to kind of fully back it up may not be the best choice of your budget. But, people go to these movies because they want to be excited and intense because of the amazing stunts being done. And the stunts are there. I can also say that outside of that, outside of that, is there anything else? Oh, excuse me. Anyway, I could have done with probably a little more dynamics with that. Oh, and as I was trying to say earlier, dynamics in terms of two things. First, in terms of the action, the chase scenes are awesome with the stunts and, seeing people run and do kind of their own thing. Great. But I am also looking for a little more of the fist fighting / gunplay to kind of mix things up, which is why Mile 22 or the 22 Mile might be something I'm a little more excited about, because it looks like it's going to have that kind of modern cowboy feel to it. However, the second thing is trying to expand upon characters a little more than they did. Now, some, of course, like Tom Cruise's character, absolutely have plenty of changes and background story to see. Others need a little bit of work to kind of integrate it. Primarily Simon Pegg and Bing Rhames, because they take a major back burner when they have so much to offer. Still, overall, the movie may be predictable, but it's definitely worth a trip to the theater just for the components alone. Again, you have to be a fan of this action crime series with some mystery spy thriller thrown into it. But it works because it's not a traditional feel. It doesn't take forever there and provides you plenty of leeway to try to figure out what's going on. I can say it is a bit convoluted, but that's part of the challenge of having fun with it. And when you have the action scenes to melt away the fact that you may not have gotten it, you're not going to really care, because that action scenes are fantastic for me. Still, a little too heavy reliance on it may have been the undoing of the movie. But we'll see where they can take the franchise if they want to. Because I can't necessarily say the ending is fully open to continuing, but there is room potentially if they want to. And, well done to the actors for once again bringing a spectacular performance to it. And again, for just a very fun and engaging movie, despite its cheesy predictableness. Anyways, guys, this is Robbie's Movie Reviews about to sign off with in terms of its kind of genres. I probably have to give it an 8. In terms of movie overall, probably nestling in around a 7, maybe 6.5 at the lowest. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed as much as I did. Go out there for bangs and spend your bucks for bangs, bombs, and I guess you can say bulletproof glass cars in some instances. Because Mission Impossible's parameters are coming in hot and heavy and requires a little bit of rivalry chess playing to help sort out the answers. Anyways, this is the last of the movie reviews for this week, and we have a pretty busy week with at least 3 next week before we hit potentially 2 weeks of 4, if not 5. But you guys are the ones that make it worthwhile doing this, so please share with others who are interested, and please just share to help me expand upon my movie reviews. Let me know if you guys have topics that are interested, and just help me try to improve. I appreciate constructive criticism, and until then, good night, everyone.